Our last speaker, panelist, she's very humble. She doesn't want me to go over her biography. She said, make it short, like our main speaker this afternoon. I can just say that she's been working to make Barbados accessible as a gateway to the Caribbean. And she said, after that, let me go. So, Rosa, go.
Thank you. Before I begin, I would just like to say that when I was asked to prepare this presentation, I took into consideration I'm presenting to many disabilities, the blind especially, because we have a president who is blind. And if I could be more descriptive for you, Senator, I would try to be, but I'm hoping that you will appreciate the description, and you all too. At the end of it, I'm sure you'll feel like if you're in Barbados, because even if you close your eyes or you block your ears, you will feel the experience I'm going to give you. And at the end of it, coming through that door, if you stop at our booth, you'll get a taste, a physical taste of what Barbados is as well. Bonjour, mon nom est Roseanna Tudor from Barbados, the gem of the Caribbean. When I knew that I was going to do this presentation, I panicked. And for those who are blind, I think you're fortunate that you cannot see my picture. And I wondered if I should do some TED Talks, crash courses to give me that confident woman image, or just be me. We often focus on the visible challenges so much that we overlook the invisible. Many of my colleagues appear to be physically challenged. I would never imagine how invisibly challenged I may be. Not every disability is visible. I have worked as an advocate for inclusion for many years, and to this day I'm asked, what is your disability? How can you speak on inclusion of persons with disability if you do not have a disability? Go figure it, please. It appears to be the norm for many people that advocate for a cause. You have to be affected by the cause. Fact is, we are all challenged by limited abilities and should never be presumed. I fight for accessibility, but more importantly, I fight for inclusion. Our mentor and friend, Scott Rains, would say we are all interdependent. Bajans would say one hand can't clap, but one person can make a difference. And though the world can be a lonely place, the fact is it does revolve around me. So today, I will take a pause to share my cause. I'm happy to be here with two of my colleagues, Senator Carrie-Ann Eiffel and Roseanne Foster Vaughan, sitting right in front here, both of whom are trend-setting examples for inclusion. Thank you to Destinations for All for giving us this opportunity to share with you one of the most meaningful parts of our lives, one that will make a difference in this world. Fully accessible Barbados, the gateway to access in the Caribbean. Barbados, for most of us living in Barbados, our daily view is the clear waters of the Caribbean Sea, reflecting the blue skies and the gently rolling waves on mostly white sandy beaches. Oh well, we don't have much choice. To give you an idea of how Barbados began and why our built environment presents a slower pace of transformation, I will share a brief historical background. The first indigenous people to Barbados were the Amerindians from Venezuela. They made their new home in Barbados, leaving behind only a hint of evidence for the archaeologists. Next came the Portuguese en route to Brazil. They named the island Los Barbados, bearded ones, presumably named after the island's fig trees, which have a beard-like appearance. Then came the British with their slaves to occupy and settle on the west coast of the island. The British made their mark on the land with the construction of magnificent plantation houses. Barbados' natural coral limestone, cut out of the steep terraces of the ancient sea cliffs, became the distinctive material used to build these grand homes. An example is our Sunbury plantation. Thank you, colleagues. The British architectural influence can be seen in the magnificent Parliament buildings of Bridgetown and many of the original merchants' buildings, which today was still standing on the edge of the roads. Third, we have the third oldest parliament in the world, so we boast about that as well. Our senator president, she is the president of the Senate, the first blind president of the Senate of Barbados too, so that's another honor for us and a first. This is some pictures of the original merchant buildings. See, they're close, they still stand, so if you come to Barbados, you'll be able to still see some of these streets. The buildings were very close to the roads. This is another one in another part of Barbados. Another Barbadian architectural distinction is the Chattel House, designed as a result of historical circumstances. Slaves were allowed to build their humble homes on marginally productive plantation lands, paying very little rent. However, the plantation owners reserved the right to evict the tenants at short notice. These houses therefore had to be chattel, which means movable possession. These modest houses were constructed so they could easily be dismantled in sections, put onto a cart, and moved to another spot. An example of a Barbadian chattel house. Lack of foresight ruled the early years of development. Therefore, Barbados' present trust to create access is hindered by a challenging landscape where roads run closely alongside properties, many of which are within the tourism plant. 9 years ago, the Barbados Council for the Disabled, of which I work with, conceptualized fully accessible Barbados out of a need to heighten awareness and draw attention to the inaccessible environment which denied reasonable accommodation to people with disabilities in Barbados. In developing FAB, we recognize that tourism affected the lives of most Barbadians, and this was the area we could get the necessary attention. Also, the numerous requests received from potential guests with disabilities wanting information on how accessible Barbados was naturally shifted FAB's focus to the tourism industry. Implementing the strategy Create Fully Accessible Barbados, an accreditation assessment program was developed offering 6 accreditation standards. These are the 6 standards that we follow right now in our Fully Accessible Barbados program. Universal Design and International Accessibility Standards guides the assessment process. Related criteria was designed to meet these requirements. Following assessments, recommendations are made in order to qualify for any of the 6 FAB accreditations. And then a second visit is conducted to ensure that the recommendations were addressed. When completed, a well-designed FAB plaque depicting the qualifying standards is presented to the facility. A necessary criterion to acquiring FAB standards is sensitivity training offered to the facility staff. This is very important for us. FAB properties are then promoted by the businesses and via FAB website, Facebook page. A FAB app is now available to guide visitors to FAB facilities. In concluding, FAB is progressing in the direction intended. More of the tourism plant is incorporating universal design and international standards in their building and refurbishing plans. The commercial sector is making strides in keeping up with the provision of access, as they too are recognizing the value of customers with disabilities. Amendments to the Importation of Animal Act recently catapulted us to create history in Barbados just a week ago by inviting Dylan, the first service animal, his user and trainer, to assist in our thrust for a fully accessible Barbados. This is some pictures of Dylan guiding the way forward. I would give you from left. Dave, the trainer, is demonstrating guiding techniques to a student who is blind. The middle picture is Dylan arriving in Barbados, accompanied by Danny and Dave. That was an historical moment for Barbados because the first time a guide dog came to Barbados. And he captivated all of us, the entire Barbados. We took him to restaurants, we took him to the beach, we took him to eat coconut water, we took him on a rally, we took him to schools. That was one of our proudest moments for the year, actually. Though FAB is still heavily focused on tourism, the program is expanding into schools, housing, and other social sectors. With the ratification of the CRPD and having attracted the support of the Ministry of Tourism, Barbados National Standards Institute, and the Caribbean Regional Organization of Standards and Quality, fully accessible Barbados will be the catalyst that leads the development of quality, sustainable, and competitive destinations in the Caribbean.
I invite all of you to journey with Roseanna to Barbados. Fully accessible Barbados, the gateway to access in the Caribbean. It has been a successful but tiring year, and Roseanna is set to take her vacation. But the thought of spending it at home doing nothing was not too inspiring. She casually picks up a Barbados in a nutshell guidebook from her desk and flips it open aimlessly. Suddenly, it hits her. She had heard of the strides the Caribbean island Barbados was making in creating an inclusive vacation experience for all through its fully accessible Barbados program. Hey, why not? After a 4.5-hour flight from New York, the sparkling blue and white sandy beach appeared as if touching the belly of the plane. Roseanna appeared to have flown past the other passengers on their way to the arrival hall, seemingly anxious to begin her vacation. After collecting her baggage with the assistance of the airline staff, Roseanna was on her way to the Accra Beach Hotel, one of the fully accessible Barbados accredited hotels. The accessible vehicle which she had booked with the Barbados Council for the Disabled certainly presented the independence she was accustomed to. Roseanna was not sure which was warmer, the climate or the staff at the Accra Beach Hotel as she checked in. Being aware of her arrival and her needs, she spent no time settling into her accessible room. As Roseanna entered her room, she was immediately captivated by the breathtaking view of the beautiful Caribbean Sea, beyond the softly swaying coconut trees. She threw back her body on the bed and exclaimed a delightful shrill. Pondering whether to go for a dip in the pool or the sea, she opted for an afternoon at the Chakra Spa, which was easy to access in the hotel. This was the pampering she imagined during her flight that would prepare her for the exhilarating experiences to come. An early dinner at the Aqua Deck restaurant to end the day was a great idea. Next day, unable to resist the sound of the waves gently crashing onto the beach, Roseanna decided she was definitely going for a swim. Having already booked the sea wheelchair, the attendant was waiting patiently to assist her into the sea. The warmth of the sun on her body and the light breeze blowing against her face as she made her way down to the sea was exactly what she imagined as she slowly began to feel the cool, clear water rising to cover her as the chair rolled into the waves. She had heard about the new boardwalk on the south coast, which started at the west end of the hotel's beach, and decided to take a stroll, opting for her rollator, as she wanted to experience it on her feet if possible. Roseanna was happy with her choice, and having noticed an accessible restaurant along the boardwalk where she would like to have lunch, she recognized that a wheelchair would not have been able to access the property from the boardwalk. This reminded her of the advice prior to booking her hotel, that though a hotel may be accessible from the street entrance and offer an accessible property, it does not necessarily have an accessible beachfront. Some of the hotels are built on rocky terrain or cliff edges. After another restful night's sleep, probably due to the constant light trade winds and the therapeutic sound of the waves, Roseanna woke to the anticipated day. She was going to try the aerial trek. Not one to shy from a challenge and new experiences, she had booked this tour in advance after being assured that she could handle the terrain. With the reassuring guides shadowing her every move along the grassy and stone stairway, Roseanne was soon zipping through the trees and even had the driver of the Barbados Council for the Disabled's bus zipping along too. What an exhilarating day. Deciding to get a bit of shopping out of the way prior to the sightseeing tour, she headed for the Shuttle House Village for some excellent souvenirs and then to Lime Grove Lifestyle Centre, where many top international brand name stores were available in an accessible, ultra-modern shopping centre. Having the use of an accessible vehicle made it so much easier for Roseanne to enjoy the sightseeing stops. Driving along, she recognized the challenges faced in creating an accessible built environment, as many streets were situated very close to the buildings. However, she was pleased to see that great strides were being made towards access in the many refurbishing and redevelopment projects visible along the way. After a stop at the St. John's Parish Church, where the panoramic view looked out across the rugged hills of the east coast towards the Atlantic Ocean, the final stop of the day led to Martin's Bay, a famous spot she was told not to miss for its delicious fish flavored by the salty sea air and eaten in the open bay. This was the life, and Roseanne couldn't imagine it getting any better. As her final day approached, she decided to join some friends at the Oystons Bay Gardens, having been told that it was not to be missed. This area is a bustling fishing village during the day, and at night, a potpourri of activity to entice its patrons. There are a variety of stalls offering fresh fish dinners cooked on the spot in coal pots or flaming grills. The marlin went down well with the bank spare.
Beautiful, beautiful Barbados, gem of the Caribbean Sea. Come back to my island, Barbados. Come back to my island and me. You'll find rest, you'll find peace in Barbados. Come back to my island and me.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Questions? Yes?
Merci. One thing that you said really struck me is that making tourism accessible would actually create a more accessible place for the people in general, which is fascinating. Usually we think the other way around. that if we make our society accessible in general, well, more tourists will come. Well, let's have the tourists come in, and then we'll have a richer place to live in.
Yep.
So it's not a question, it's just
Correct.
a comment. Thank you.
No, I'm glad you observed that, because working with the Barbados Council of Disabled, we recognize tourism just fell into place. We recognize that we were trying to create access for our people in every area: housing, health, the environment, and tourism being our business, the main income generating business in our economy. We felt that that was where our attention should go. So that was where, and then we were getting so many inquiries from people wanting to come to Barbados, so we said, let's do this. And it just happened that we were started with the tourism, and we've now gotten into a situation where we are beginning to seem like a travel agency.
It's on my bucket list.
Yes?
This is the line of the law in the US is like what trumps, which law trumps the other one. For example, the hotel room doors should not have so much weight, right? But the fire regulations say that it should have so much, so the big bang shut behind you. So they say ADA does not take precedence, so the regulation for the fire takes precedence. In the same line, Barbados is a country, I was told yesterday by a person, is a rabies-free country. So how did the law get changed to have dogs come?
To have Dylan? It hasn't changed in terms of having dogs come into, any dog come to Barbados. You still have to follow our regulations, which require you to have the health facilities in place, the necessary treatment for rabies before you leave your country. The only thing has really changed, and will change from early January, right, Senator? I think so. We used to have dogs coming from US and the UK, not UK, Canada, and having to go to UK to be checked and the quarantine procedure and everything, and then come to Barbados. I had my dog come from Canada and had to go through all of that. So it's a lot easier, it's going to be a lot easier now for dogs, once they meet the requirements, to come from the US and from Canada without going through that long quarantine. Once you meet the regulation that your dog has this certificate that he is rabies-free, our vet would check it on arrival at the airport. Our next step is to really have our Ministry of Health put the regulations in place, or adjust the regulations that would have the dogs able to go into restaurants and public places with their user. We ban pets and animals from going into any public places. Most of the time it's because of health conditions. But we have to look now at the term service animals. So this is about to happen. We're about to try and move at a rapid pace with the Ministry of Health, because they're all on board in this with us. So that's the next step for us, ensuring that when you come with a dog, you will be able to go into all those public places that we took Dylan. With Dylan, we got a waiver from the Ministry of Health, and the property owners were so receptive and they were so encouraging. So it's given us a lot of encouragement.
Any more questions? Yes?
Come back to my island and me.
Thank you for the interlude. My question actually has to do with the rating system that you implemented. How long did it take you to come up with that, and any strategies you'd recommend?
Okay, when we first started, we actually were following partly the ADA and UK regulations. We developed our criteria based on the culture and the environment of Barbados, because we knew we couldn't get, if we were offering access in every area, it would take us years, which is why we rated it according to wheelchair assisted, for instance, and wheelchair independent wheelchair user. For instance, like with Hilton, they have, you can go with your independent wheelchair user and go anywhere in the hotel, but they did not get all, they're not an independent wheelchair, because to go on the balcony, a little thing like going, even though the rooms and everything were accessible, the phone in the room, everything, to go, they have a beach wheelchair and they have accessible beach, but to get from the balcony of your room in the accessible room onto the patio, you can get out with a little lip, but then you would have to be very fit upper body to be able to get back in. So we didn't think to qualify them, it was right to say that they're an independent wheelchair user facility. But going on our website and our Facebook page, you would see videos of those properties. People call us and we let them know what to expect. So we really don't lead anybody into a property that is not going to be suitable for them. They need a lift for the bed, we know where to direct them, and most of the time they call us. Or they check the websites.
Questions? If not,
Roseanna?
Roseanna, you may be humble, but for sure you're a woman of action. Very good presentation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second,
Can I ask one question?
yes, go ahead.
There was a hotel called Amaryllis.
Yes.
Which had a fabulous information on their website, with even the height and the width and
Okay,
all that.
everything. They have an
They still have those facilities because they have taken down that page.
No, I'm glad you asked, because they had an accessible quarter, actually, that was really accessible. They're new owners, and that's why they've taken it down. So they're in the transition mode now of acquiring a new ownership. So they'll be back. Oh, yes, they'll be put it
That
back.
page was what I used to take to all the travel industry shows,
Yeah.
and show the hotels, this is how you do it, to give information.
Yep.
And when I called them, they said, we get a lot of wheelchair clients
yes.
using wheelchairs, and we don't know how they come. So I said, have you looked at your own website? And the person who answered the phone didn't even have a clue that they had this
Yeah.
information on the website. And they used to get groups because of that one page.
Yep, they're accessible, and I say more and more people are becoming more and more accessible. What I would like to see, I think I heard in discussions today, is a universal accessibility code and standards. The Caribbean is developing standards right now, and they're looking to Barbados to help them with these standards. We're looking to US, UK, and trying to give a balance to suit our culture and our built environment, as you could see in the video. So we really need guidance. We need a international code that we can follow and not be guessing at. But for now, I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Good.